Hello, welcome back to Buckle Up. My name is Rob Wilson and this is the new Mazda 6e, and today I'm going to find out if it's any good. Okay then, but before we drive it, let's have a look around the outside. And I have to say that this is a handsome car. It is really rather good looking, as you would expect from Mazda, to be honest. Very smooth design. There's not too many weird or odd creases and angles. It's just really restrained but powerful looking. I mean, this bonnet is really long, and that's not something you usually see on an electric car. We've still got the Mazda wing style grille, even though obviously it is filled in. It doesn't need it because it's electric. We've got the daytime running lights up here. We've got the headlights in a separate light cluster just below that. Got some proper aero bits going on. And then underneath that bonnet, there's actually a 72-litre frunk, which you can take the bottom out and all the water comes out. So you could actually have a bath in there if you wanted to. 72 litres is quite a lot of space. Anyway, down the side here we can see the 19-inch aero inspired alloy wheels. We've got some black mirror covers. We've got a bit of black trim here with Mazda written in it. The door handles are pop out, so they open like this, and we have frameless windows. Isn't that posh? And then yeah, very saloon shape, nothing weird or extravagant going on here, just a restrained, very good looking car in my opinion. There is one problem though, which is this is where you charge it. Now there are two different battery options available on the 6e. There is a smaller 68.8 kilowatt hour battery, but that is LFP. The larger 80 kilowatt hour battery that I have here is NMC. So what that means is that they have a different chemical structure, and that translates into a charging speed of only 90 kilowatts in this larger 80 kilowatt hour battery version versus 165 in the smaller 68.8 kilowatt hour version. So that means that your charging times are either 24 minutes for the smaller battery or 47 minutes for the larger battery, which is quite a big difference. Now the bigger battery will go further on a charge. I'll talk more about that when we drive it, but yeah, I just thought it's worth pointing out that the bigger battery doesn't actually have the benefits that normally they do on other cars. Anyway, onto the back. Here there's more than a hint of Mazda's past in this rear light design, with specifically the four main light elements here, two on either side, being very reminiscent of the RX-7. We've also got an actual spoiler here that does lift up when you go over a certain speed, and Mazda claim that it does provide actual downforce, but not sure that that's necessarily needed on a family saloon like this. We've got badging, 6E Mazda script across the middle rather than the Mazda badge, and then quite a bit of black plastic down here, but very good looking car again from this angle. No rear wiper, but if I open up the boot, you will notice it's an actual hatchback rather than a saloon, so that makes it a lot more practical. And in here we have a 466 litre boot. If you fold the seats down in the back, then that goes up to 1076 litres, and as you can see, it's a nice flat square shape. There's a speaker here on the right hand side, but there aren't actually any hooks or tie down points in here. If I lift up this rubber mat, then I can access the warning triangle, towing eye and some tyre goop, but there really isn't any additional space here. If you're looking for that, you'll have to use the frunk. Anyway, I will close this up and then I will go and try out the back seats. Okay, so here in the back seats, and first of all, just look at this. I mean, we've got this caramel tan interior, whatever you want to call it. We've got suede Alcantara bits, we've got leather bits. It does feel really rather nice and premium in the back here. Now, I should probably talk about the amount of space that I have here, and you'll notice we are on the wrong side of the car for doing that, because this is a left-hand drive car that I am testing. So I do have this driver's seat set up in my driving position. For reference, I'm 188 centimetres, 6'2" tall, whichever takes your fancy. And as you can see, legroom wise, I actually have plenty of room back here. Headroom is more of a struggle, but it is in all of this car's rivals really. And there is a small cutout for my head if I want to sit all the way up straight. But because I've got quite a lot of legroom, I can slouch a little bit, and it's reasonably comfortable. One thing to mention is that the floor of the car is actually quite high, which means that I can't really put my feet under the front seat when it's set in my driving position. But there is a flat floor throughout the back of the cabin, so if you are sitting with someone in this middle seat, while it's a bit raised and not as wide and obviously as comfy as the outer seats, there probably would be enough foot room, which would save on a few arguments. And then in terms of things that we've got back here, well, we've got seat back pockets, we've got door bins which are big enough for a bottle of water, and here in the centre we have some air vents and the ability to change the climate control from back here. We've also got the ability to control the sunroof, which is going over my head now, and from this side I can actually control the front passenger seat, which I'm sure wouldn't be annoying at all if you had kids in the back. But that aside, it is nice to see that we've got our own climate in the back here. We've got an armrest here in the centre with 2 cup holders in it as well, and we've got some Sony speakers in this top spec Takumi Plus car. There are ISOFIX points on both of the outer seats, but let's hop up front and see what's going on there. Okay then, so up front, and this is very un-Mazda, I would say. I'm still loving the tan and caramel, whatever you want to call it, design throughout this top spec car, but what we have here in the middle is a gigantic 14.6 inch screen, which I'm not convinced is the most intuitive and easy to use. Everything is buried within it, so your climate controls are all there, mirror controls are all in the screen as well, your heated and cooled seat functions are all within the screen. If you want to change things like the annoying lane keep assist or the speed bongs, you have to go into the car menu and then into the smart drive menu and then turn those things off individually, which is too many steps to do that because you have to do it every time you get into the car. But you can just connect your Apple CarPlay or Android Auto up to this system, and then you don't really have to worry about what the rest of it's like. It does respond reasonably quickly, but the menus are not the most intuitive, and there is quite a lot going on here that I don't think should be in a screen. It feels very much like a Chinese car, and there's a reason for that, but we'll come on to that when we drive it. In front of me, through the steering wheel, I do have my own separate driver's cluster with a power meter and speed on either side, which does actually look a little bit sort of traditional, but I can scroll through different things if I want to. I can have different messages showing up on the screen. I have shortcut buttons here to my 360-degree camera. I've got cruise modes as well that I can go through. I've got driving modes. I've got normal, sport, individual. I've got 2 favorite buttons that I can set to various different things. In here, they're set to the wiper and light controls because you do have the old style Mercedes-Benz levers behind the steering wheel, so you've got indicator lights and wipers on this side and your drive selector on this side, as well as the double tap down to engage the cruise control, which is very Tesla, which nicked it from Mercedes. And I'm not quite sure why they have some sort of 15-year-old switchgear in here, but they do. The rest of it is very lovely indeed. We've got these nice Alcantara bits, we've got nice metallic finishes around the place. We've got 2 cup holders here in the centre, again, nice metal finish around there. 2 places to pop your phone. This one's got a wireless charger. Door pockets, decent size. I've got a heads-up display. I've got a decent size glove box, although I don't know if it'll be the same size when this becomes a right-hand drive car. The seats are very nice, comfy. They've got good support support on them, good bolstering. This front one has another ISOFIX point on it. There is a cubby below this plinth, so we've got two more chargers. We've actually got a USB-A and a USB-C in this. It's just not very often you see a USB-A anymore these days. And then if you press this little Mazda badge here, you open up your armrest and there is actually a decent sized bin there in the centre. You could probably fit a box of tissues or something. I don't know what you want with you. A Murray Mint, some Werther's Originals, they'll all fit in there. But let's head out on the road and see if it drives like a Mazda. Right, okay then, so driving the 6E. And I guess I'll start by talking about the figures, because as I have alluded to, there are a couple of weird things going on here with the battery options. So, as I said, I have the long range car, which means I've got an 80 kilowatt hour battery, and that means I've actually got slightly less overall power than the smaller battery at 245 PS versus 254. We've got basically the same amount of torque, 310, 320 Newton meters roughly. 0 to 60 is basically the same. There's only 0.2 of a second in it, 7.8 versus 7.6 seconds. And the range difference on the smaller battery, 298 miles claimed on the WLTP cycle versus 342 in this bigger 80 kilowatt hour battery. So it's only really 45 miles difference between the normal and long range charges, which I don't think is enough to warrant the difference in the battery chemistry and therefore the charging speeds. 47 minutes is a long time to charge a car from 10 to 80% because you're very limited by the 90 kilowatt charging speeds. Both cars will charge overnight if you've got an 11 kilowatt hour charger at home. 7 kilowatt hour charger like I've got is more likely to be 10 plus hours, but still not too bad. But yeah, the main thing really is that bigger battery that I have in this car. It just feels a generation behind where it should be. So my recommendation would actually be to go for the smaller battery. In terms of how it drives, well, both options are single motor rear wheel drive, so it should be pretty fun, right? Well, yes and no, because obviously rear wheel drive is just inherently more fun. This is a very balanced car. The weight is a 53-47 distribution. The weight of the overall car is 1,962 kilograms dry without a driver. So it is the right side of 2 tons, but underneath, as I alluded to earlier, this is not really a Mazda. It's actually a Chinese car. It's a Changan D-PAL chassis. Now, I've driven the Changan D-PAL S07, which is the SUV version of this platform, which the forthcoming Mazda 6xe will be based on. And that's why a lot of this stuff in here, specifically the screen, feels very much like it's just been taken out of a Chinese car, and that's because it has, and that's why it keeps interrupting me with warnings and various different things like that, because those systems are a bit over-eager generally. As a result, the 6e does not have that usual sort of Mazda spark that certainly is present in its petrol-powered and diesel-powered cars. Mazda's sort of stayed away a little bit from the whole electric thing. They had the MX-30, which was rubbish, and then they tried to do the whole rotary plug-in hybrid thing on the MX-30, and that was also rubbish. This is their first proper attempt at a ground-up EV, So it's not surprising that they've reached out to another manufacturer to get their know-how and steal some of their underpinnings, but it does take some of the soul out of this car. It's not to say that it's especially bad to drive by any means. It's perfectly fine. It's just not amazing or better than a lot of the other cars in this class, which is a shame really, because that's usually Mazda's standout thing. The brake is quite linear actually, and while it doesn't have a one pedal mode, it does have a freewheel mode, so you can just go along and not use any electricity. So if I put my foot down, you do get an initial sort of kick in the back and you get pushed back into your seat, but it does tail off the faster you go. It is somewhat refreshing to just see a car that has a reasonable amount of power. It doesn't need to have 600 horsepower and do 0 to 60 in 0.3 of a second and go onto a top speed of 1,000,000. It's a family saloon car, so it doesn't need to do that. It's not too quick for its own good. It rides relatively well, and I suspect that that's probably because this is quite a long car and it does have a large wheelbase, so obviously that helps with that comfort thing. But yeah, it's relatively quiet in here. There's a bit of tyre noise, but wind noise is pretty damped. I can't really hear that too much. The efficiency is claimed at 3.7 miles per kilowatt hour, and to be fair, this one is indicating that it has done roughly that over the past 200 miles, so it seems to be fairly honest with what it can do. And then I've got a full suite of safety systems. As I alluded to, you have to go into the screen to turn most of them off, but I've got cruise control, which I can set and it'll follow the car in front, and you can follow the lane on a motorway, and all of the usual stuff that you would want a car to do nowadays. Yes, it does bong and beep occasionally, but it's not so incessant that you want to tear your eyes out. I can talk to the car as well, so I don't have to use the screen for absolutely everything. I just prefer it if I had some physical buttons. So overall, it's pretty competent at doing the driving thing, just maybe missing that little Mazda magic that we're used to. So with that in mind, let's go back and do a conclusion. Okay then, so that is the Mazda 6e tested. So what am I thinking? Well, I think it looks really rather good, and I think they've done quite a lot to make it less like the car it's based on, but ultimately that is its greatest weakness. It's got lots of space in the back, but then the batteries, if you go for the LFP one, which you absolutely should, the smaller battery is actually the one to go for, then you're fine because your charging speed's all right. If you're going for the 80 kilowatt hour battery is not the one I would go for, especially in the UK with those charging times. It just doesn't make sense for the amount of extra range that you're getting. But let me know what you think down in the comments. But while you're down there, please like the video if you've enjoyed it, subscribe and ding the notification bell. And if you want to support what we do, you can go on down to the description where we've got links to our channel memberships, we've got merch, and you can follow us on all different kinds of social medias. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.